Yeah, let me put this back on the wrist because this thing looks so nice. So nice. Great job, Seiko. Oh, that's nice. That looks really great. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Derek, aka The Minute Mon, and today I have a special treat for you guys. I have two new Seiko limited editions, the Ginza limited edition, one Prospect and one Presage piece. Both of these pieces are celebrating Seiko's 140th year anniversary since the brand did start in 1881. And what I'm gonna do today is go through the press release and then go through the specs on each of these pieces, do a full hands-on, first impressions, and then talk about the details, stuff like that at the end. Oh yeah, and if you're new here, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Our store, Carrot & Co, is an authorized retailer for Seiko, and you can see on our channel a bunch of other videos of watches we have reviewed. And make sure to like and leave a comment on what your thoughts are on this piece. And without further ado, let's just jump right in. According to Seiko, in celebration of Seiko's 140th year anniversary and its long association with Ginza, two limited editions are today introduced into the Prospect and Presage collections, which capture both the classic and modern faces of Ginza. So for those of you who don't know, what is Ginza? Ginza is basically like the Fifth Avenue in Tokyo. It's a huge area with a lot of shopping, a lot of beautiful boutiques and stores, and right at the center of it is Seiko. And Seiko actually has this store which we call Wako. It's one of the first stores Seiko had officially. And if you go to Ginza today, the most noticeable feature you'll see is at the top of the building there is a giant Seiko clock, which I was lucky to be able to visit on both of my trips when I went to Japan in 2017 and 2018. And I can't wait for another trip to go back. The second hand pays homage to the district's history with Komparu, a traditional Japanese color named after Komparu Street, where Ginza's nightlife was once centered. This blue color with a soft green tone was first used in the Middle Meiji era, 1868 to 1912. Instantly found favor among the many geishas who lived there, and then gradually became a popular color among the public. So according to Seiko, the dial is inspired, representing modern Ginza. Both creations capture the classic and modern faces of Ginza with dial patterns inspired by the district's cobblestone streets. The dial patterns are in a blue-gray color that evokes the contemporary feel of modern buildings and constructions which outline the area. So the Prospect limited edition is based on the modern reinterpretation of the 1959 Alpinist watch introduced earlier this year. The intricate pattern of the dial incorporates two different sun ray patterns, which, as the viewing angle changes, creates ever-changing impressions that capture the texture and feel of Ginza's cobblestones. So let's talk about the SPB259 first, the Laurel Alpinist recreation. So it has a stainless steel case measuring 38 millimeters with a thickness of 12.9 millimeters and a length lug to lug of 46.2 millimeters. For my own 6.4 inch wrist, this watch fits incredibly well. You know, I like watches that are between 38 and 40 millimeters, so if you have a slim wrist like me, you'll definitely like this watch already. The case features a mix of brush and high finishing, which is done extremely well. You can see a lot more of the high finishing on the bezel and also the lugs facing the wearer, and then there's a lot more brush finishing on the sides. It does have a screw down crown for 200 meter water resistance or 20 bar. The crown is unsigned like most of these Seiko Lux are. You know, the funny thing is that the colorway actually reminds me of the SLA445, which launched last year, which is the recreation of the 62 MAS. That like blue dial, a little bit different color of the blue, but then the second hand is that same kind of like pop of aqua color. So that was the first thing I thought when I saw these pieces, and I think that watch is also an awesome piece. The top of the case has a domed sapphire crystal, and there is anti-reflective coating on the inner surface. The hands are these Dauphine style. It does have Lumibrite on the hands and also all the hour markers. And the hour markers are all applied, so they're raised above the dial, creating some 3D depth. And then at 12 o'clock, they have this very kind of a noticeable, what I call like the Triforce, if you know about Legend of Zelda. That's what it looks like to me. That makes the 12 o'clock marker a little bit more distinguishable, especially if you're using it in low light. And now the whole dial and the color play with the indices has a really striking design. The cobblestones is very prominent and it's very easy to see, and I can see that sunburst finish that they're talking about. It kind of looks like a spider's web almost too, which is really cool. And obviously this blue-gray color is such a fantastic color. I think Seiko is definitely punching above its price point for this kind of dial because it's really unique. Onto the bracelet. The bracelet is mostly brush finished with high polish on the sides, and it does have a pin and collar for sizing adjustment. And then there's also these little areas of high polish in between each of the center brush links, so you get a little bit of a mix of like tool watch, but also like a little bit of elegance there too. Clasp is just a standard single folding clasp with the Seiko engraved logo into the clasp, and there is one position of micro adjustment which you'll need a tool to adjust. The case back is see-through, has a mineral crystal, and it shows the 6R35 movement. This 6R35 movement has become pretty much like a standard core movement for Seiko these recent years, and basically it has a 70-hour power reserve. And according to Seiko, the accuracy is between 25 plus seconds to minus 15 seconds per day. I think overall, the color tones of this watch is really beautiful. I like that the date window is white. It actually matches really well with the rest of the dial. It doesn't really stand out too much for me. So I think it's a fantastic job from Seiko. It is a limited edition, limited to 3,500 pieces worldwide, and it is priced at $750. And on all these pieces, they're not numbered, which means that they don't write like 001 out of 3,500. They just put a standard serial number, just like any other watch would. Although the inspiration for this watch is more of that L'Oreal Alpinist, that mountaineer watch, it's definitely a lot more dressy to me, but I like that it's able to kind of be a little bit of both. Like you could wear this, like let's say you're going hiking, or going out for your day, and then you can dress this up nicely like with a nice shirt, and it looks really nice, really phenomenal. So great job to Seiko on this new SPB259. Now we're going to talk about the Presage Ginza Limited Edition. This one is referenced SSA445. The Presage creation features the same cobblestone inspired dial pattern and Komparu colored seconds hands, but the watch has the distinguished aspect of the recently released Style 60s design inspired by the 1964 Seiko Crown chronograph. The box-shaped crystal, sharp hands, and faceted indexes are inherited directly from the Crown chronograph and create a retro feel that matches perfectly with the classic dial pattern. The opening at 9 o'clock position allows the wearer to see and enjoy the beating of the escapement, and the 24-hour subdial above it offers a different useful way to tell the time. So this is SSA445 in this limited edition of 4,000 pieces. So at a first glance, it does feature the same dial motif, and this time it's a 40mm case with a 12.8mm of thickness, and the length is about 47mm. So on the wrist, actually it wears very similar to the L'Oreal Alpinist recreation. When you first look at this watch, you might think this is a dive watch just because of that black bezel with the 60 minutes interpreted on the outside. And my first reaction was to try to turn the bezel, but then obviously it's not a dive watch. It's only 5-bar water resistance. Since it is part of the Presage line, it is meant to be a little bit more of their dressy collection. This time, instead of sapphire crystal, it's a box-shaped Harlix crystal. So this one is definitely in line with more of Seiko's core collection, not exactly in their Luxe Presage line. It does also have this nice stainless steel bracelet, which is mostly brush finished, and then there's just high polish on the outside links with also a pin and collar system. Has pretty much the same folding clasp as the L'Oreal Alpinist Limited Edition. So it has a Seiko engraved logo, and then it has one position of micro adjustment. There's also a really nice piece. You can see the movement through the crystal here. This time it doesn't have any imprinting, and the movement inside here is the 4R39. It's a standard automatic with hacking. It does have a power reserve of 41 hours, so it's more of a standard movement that Seiko uses. Each of the hour markers are applied, and then right in front of it has these little rectangles for the lume plot, and then the text is pretty minimal still, just Presage automatic. This reminds me more of like their Seiko cocktail hour time, because a lot of those have like those open aperture to see the escapement. And most of the case also features a lot of brush finishing facing the wearer. So on the lugs, it's all brush finish, and then on the sides you do have high polish. It is interesting to see that there is drilled lug holes on the SSA445, the Presage edition, but there's no drilled lug holes on the Laurel Alpinist, which I just realized. It kind of makes more sense to put it on the Laurel Alpinist since it's a little more sporty. And also there is a Seiko engraved crown here on this version, whereas on the Laurel Alpinist it does not have a Seiko engraved crown. And when I look at this watch, I definitely get those 60s vibes from it. I mean, it definitely has that kind of design of that time. It kind of feels a little bit under the radar, but the dial is really intricate, especially at this price point. So I think this is a really well done limited edition, and I'm really excited that Seiko did it. This one is priced at $575, and it's a limited edition of 4,000 pieces. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the availability of both of these, because that's probably like one of the biggest questions people have been asking. And according to Seiko, as it mentioned in the name, it is a Ginza limited edition. Most of the pieces, the limited editions, will be available to Japan, and that just like other markets outside of Japan, like the USA, will just get a very small quantity. So both of these are going to be very limited, despite it having 3,500 for the Laurel Alpinist and 4,000 for the Style 60s, the Crown chronograph. But just wanted to show you guys a kind of first impressions and hands-on with both of these watches. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you're new here. Like this video if you found it useful, if you learned something new about both of these watches, and leave a comment below on what you like or dislike about either of these watches. It's been a minute, and I'll see you guys next time.